My name is Daniel Wynn, and by day I invest in collectibles. But by night I also make videos about investing in collectibles. I am the Great Curator, and I invite you to join me on my journey to break even in the hobby that we all love.
Alright, welcome back to another video, guys. The reason I make these videos is to share my knowledge, my thoughts, my opinions with you, with the slim hope that you get just enough value from this video that you will hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. Today's topic is a very heavily debated topic in the hobby. It's been like that for a while now, so we're gonna have a lot of fun talking about that, so let's get straight into it. That is how to determine what is a fair comp when negotiating a deal. How to determine what is a fair comp when negotiating a deal. The reason I wanted to make this video is because I made an Instagram post a couple weeks ago as I was preparing for the Dallas Card Show, where I kind of shared my thoughts on this, and I got a great feedback from that Instagram post. Some people agreed with me, some people disagreed with me, but we had a good discussion about it. So I thought that this would be a great opportunity to expand on that Instagram post with a more long-form discussion video about that. I actually made a video talking about how to value cards using comps like a year ago, but you know, the hobby has evolved since then. My own strategy, my knowledge has kind of evolved, so I thought it'd be a good time to make an updated video for that. And I have two goals with this video, okay? Goal number one is I hope to educate new people to the hobby that are watching this for the first time, because I remember when I first got back into the hobby, I didn't even know what a comp was, okay? If you don't know, comp is short for like a sales comparable when you're trying to value a card. I didn't know that when I got back into the hobby, and it was a very steep learning curve for me to try to go out there to card shows and do deals with people and things like that. And honestly, I probably got taken advantage of on a lot of my early deals because I just didn't know what it was, I didn't know how to do it, and I didn't know what was the proper way to do it, right? What was the hobby standard way of doing it. And I thought that based on what people were telling me that the way that I was doing deals, I thought that there was only one set way to do it. And now looking back, I feel like they probably took advantage of my lack of knowledge. So I'm hoping that this video will help new people to the hobby kind of understand this process a little bit more, so they will be better prepared when they start doing deals. And then number two, the second goal of this video is I hope to dispel what I believe is a common misconception in the hobby. That is that all cards have a spot price on any given day. Now I know what you're thinking. There he goes again. There's Dan making up words in the hobby again. What is spot price? Let me tell you, spot price is a term used in the gold and silver markets, usually where they say basically an ounce of silver, for example, will have a spot price on any given day. A spot price is a universally accepted value for like an ounce of silver, and if you want to trade silver, you have to either buy it at a premium or sell it at a discount, usually about 5%, okay, based off of the spot price. But the spot price is the anchor point for determining value. Now in the card hobby, in our world, a lot of people will say that cards have a spot price on any given day based on the last comp, okay? They try to do it that way. Same type of strategy. I don't really think that applies because cards are, there's no universal body that determines what is the spot price of every card. We're just using comps for that, okay? And we should not necessarily just go off of the last comp because it's a little bit more nuanced than that. There's a lot of factors that should be considered when trying to determine the value of a card, rather than trying to simplify it by just saying it's based off of the last sale, which is the spot price of that card. So before we get into my strategy, my thought process on this, let me just give you a quick history about comps, all right, and how we traditionally use them in the hobby. Before we had eBay and all these great pricing tools that we have now, pricing apps, the way that you would determine the value of cards was usually based on the Beckett Guide. The Beckett Guide came out every month. It was a magazine that had a low price and high price for most of the cards out there, and you would just negotiate between the low price, high price based on the condition of the card, all right? Fast forward to like 2019, 20, 21, now eBay starts allowing us access to search histories, auction histories, where we can see last sales, and people started to go off of the last sale of the item to determine what is the fair market value of that card on that given day. okay? Then other pricing tools started to develop, like Card Ladder, Market Movers, Alt, things like that, that would, you know, allow you to pull the data from all the different auction houses, Heritage, Golden, PWCC, whatever, right? And make an average of it, and then it would tell you based on some algorithm, whatever they think the value of that card is at that time, all right? And that's how we kind of do it now. But I think that it's a little bit, I think we're missing a big part of the equation, okay, which I'm going to share with you guys on how to value the cards, and that is basically we're not taking into account the availability of that card on the open market at that time, all right? So the reason that I've come up with this own strategy of mine is because I think that if you go off of the problem with going off of just the recent sale or even an average of a couple of the most recent sales is it just makes the value of the cards too volatile. Okay, imagine buying a card one day for like $100 and then there's a auction that ends at like $80. Suddenly you lost $20 of value in a short period of time for no other reason than the fact that an auction, which is like not a set price at all, an auction which has many factors involved on whether people are bidding on that or anything like that, ends, and then suddenly it affects the value of your cards. Okay, that got us into a lot of trouble over the last year when auctions came way down. Okay, when auctions weren't hitting skyrocket prices, that affected the market dramatically and caused a lot of volatility in the hobby, which caused a lot of people to either lose value in cards, sell off cards because they felt like they had more value, caused people to start doing the margin buying, which I talked about in last week's video, things like that. It caused a lot of volatility. So if we ever want our hobby or the value of our cards to be protected and maintained, we have to come up with a more stable way of determining what is a fair value for the cards rather than just going off of the most recent sale. This is my interpretation of how to value cards using fair comps, okay? I'm not saying it's an end-all be-all, but this is the way that I like to do it, and that is, it basically comes down to the negotiation. It is the negotiated price between the buyer and seller using the last confirmed sales on eBay within 1 month, okay? And that part most people agree with, but here's where I add in, here's where I throw the curveball, guys. You also have to weigh that against the current availability of the card, the current lowest availability of that same card or a similar card. So there's two parts to this equation. Most people always go with the first part where they just use the most recent sales or an average of the most recent sales, all right? But again, that creates a lot of volatility, all right? So you also have to factor it in on what is currently available. So let me break it down for you, all right? First of all, let me go back to saying that it is the negotiated price between the buyer and seller. Remember, everything in our hobby is up to negotiations. There is no set price that is always universally accepted. Okay, this is not like you go to Target and you buy it at the manufacturer's retail price. In fact, the retail price on a lot of these things is way lower. We trade on the secondary market. So since we trade on the secondary market, everything's up to negotiations. That's the biggest takeaway from this video, guys. Everything's up to negotiations, okay? But, so it's a negotiated price between the buyer and seller using the last confirmed sales on eBay. Confirmed sales is very important because not all auctions are paid for. And this is something that maybe a lot of people don't understand, but you have to go, when you're doing research and you're checking comps, you have to go the extra step by clicking on those past auctions to see if it was a confirmed sale. Sometimes auctions are shilled, sometimes they're not paid for, and if you don't click that auction to see if it was relisted or not, it might not be a valid comp. So you have to make sure that it is a confirmed sale within 1 month. Here's the second part of that equation, which I think is probably the most important one. Okay, that is comparing the last confirmed sales with what is currently available on eBay. This is something a lot of people don't consider. They say, well, you know, this card sold for $100, so and somebody might have it priced at $150, but they say, well, I'm not going to pay that premium. All right, it lasts sold for $100. But if it's not available anywhere else, then you're kind of at the mercy of the seller if you want the card at that time. You have to compare it to what is currently available. The same way that you would hold a seller accountable, saying, well, if the card is, you have your card priced at $150, the last confirmed sale was $100, but some guy has it on eBay right now for $110, okay? Can you compete with that? Can you price match it, right? It works the same way. So that's why it is very important that you also have to consider the lowest available option currently available right now, okay? Rarity of the card will favor the seller. If it's not available anywhere else, then the seller basically names their price and you have to negotiate based off of that as the anchor point, whatever that price is. Availability favors the buyer. If it's readily available out there, then the seller has to either price match or compete if they want to make the sale at that time, but it is ultimately up to negotiations. And there's a lot of other factors that kind of come into play, but that's basically everything in a nutshell, okay? Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, well, what happens if the last sale is $100 and then somebody has the card and it's not available anywhere else and they put $1,000 on the card. They put 10x on it, right? Is that reasonable? Should you negotiate? Well, you know, that happens sometimes, okay, depending on the situation. So I like to use what I call the 20% rule. Okay, I made this up, guys, but I call it the 20% rule. Basically, if there's a confirmed sale and it's not available anywhere else on the market, okay, and somebody has it priced, I use 20% on that. I say, okay, the last sold for $100, you add 20% on that, then the next sale should be like $120. Assuming that the seller was the last person that purchased it, they have to make a reasonable profit, so 20%. Okay, that's kind of like my mindset to justify something. So if they bought it for $100 and they have it for $1,000, that's a little bit higher, so I have to try to negotiate them down a little bit. But again, ultimately, it's the seller's card, they set the price, and it's up to negotiation. You use the 20% rule, okay? And remember, again, rarity favors the seller, availability favors the buyer, okay? If you're not comfortable with that, you just don't have to do the deal, okay? Remember, even if it's rare and it's the seller's price and they control it, the buyer has the option to always walk away and not buy it if they want to be patient, okay? But everything's up to negotiations, guys. So in summary, guys, the biggest takeaway from this video that I want you to understand is that basically it comes down to the negotiated price between the buyer or seller using the last confirmed sale on eBay within a month and comparing that to the lowest price available on eBay. You have to have those two factors, okay, when you're trying to determine what is a fair comp when you're negotiating a deal. That will balance it out, okay? That will balance it out. So that way our card values will hopefully stabilize if we use a comp system that way. All right, guys? So hopefully you understood that. I know I was rambling on a lot, but I think that I got my point across. If you got any value from this, please like, share, subscribe to my channel. If you agree with me, if you disagree with me, comment below. I'd love to hear you guys' opinions about this, and let's just continue this discussion, because this is how we educate people in the hobby, by continuing to have these discussions and continuing to evolve the way that we do transactions, the way that we do deals in the hobby. It's gonna help the hobby grow and it's gonna be better for everybody. Okay, guys? All right, thank you very much. I will see you next week.
I'm the great curator, the ultimate gentleman investor. Yeah, the great curator always stays till the gold digging hour. So watch out, all you bad actors, 'cause you don't have the slaps to be kind and civil and polite to us all. I'm the great curator.